This is so exciting because the first ever parenting seminar by Africans to the Maasai took place with these lovely couples here without the Mzungus, the white people. And so hopefully we can keep this to under half an hour. But David and Mary and Ronnie and Denka, thank you for being here. Denka, I know you're a little sick, so we hope you get some strength to talk. If you're feeling good right now, Denka, give us what was your greatest highlight of the time?
And what was it they did, Bob? You haven't said.
They held a parenting seminar for the Maasai. You were at a church. How many people did you have attending, David? How many people were there?
Yeah, we had around 30 to 33 people attending the training.
Good.
And
good.
Was it marriage and parenting?
Yes, we talked much on marriage and parenting. So we had several couples and others who are not couples.
Good. Denka, hopefully you're feeling okay. So give us one of your greatest highlights. What was it? First off, Denka, what was it like for you teaching? This is not your first time teaching, but what was it like teaching for you?
Well, it was amazing to teach, and no, not just to teach, but to teach to people that you kind of relate with a little bit, with maybe what they're going through and what I went through and all that. So it was amazing. It was amazing. It was all connecting. I would say it was God's timing because it felt as if every piece fell into place.
And Mary and Denka, I feel you, dear. Mary and Denka, you both did most of the teaching. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Parenting.
Great. Mary, what was it like for you? Is this your first time teaching?
Okay, for me, this was my first time being in Maasai and teaching the mothers there and the fathers, bearing in mind that we are very young, but I thank God that He gave us the grace to talk to their own people. And what I can say is that I'm really touched by the way people felt sorry for the way they have been doing the parenting.
So give us a typical parenting scenario, Ronnie or David. What does a typical Maasai parenting look like?
Yeah, well, it's the work of the women to take care of the children and the home. So what the father does is just give birth, impregnate the woman and goes away. So he only provide food, but sometimes they even go and not come back to give food to the family. So because they can go with cattle for around 3 weeks without coming back. So it's the work of the women to make sure that the children or the kids are going to school, the kids are taking care of the small goats and cattle which are remaining there. So the man is not there. Because I'm reminded of one woman who said, our fathers are not there to talk to the daughters. And we want you to speak to them so that at least they can be able to know that we need present fathers.
Ronnie, what did you learn, or what do you know about the Maasai and the fathering? What did you see that the?
Well, yeah, thank you for the question. I think well, just like what David is saying, the fathers are never present. Now, this gets worse when it comes to a father parenting a girl. He's never there. That's why the women are like, these guys are never there to speak to the girls, and yet they are men. They will be in a better place to tell them, hey, don't go out with men, because some of the men don't mean the real words. So for the women, they're doing two jobs. They're parenting as a mother and also parenting as a father, which is very stressing and draining to them. And some of the things they tell these girls, they don't make sense to the girls. Okay, so think about a woman telling you, hey, men are liars and everything. Some men are liars. They'll get to just lie to you. They'll not understand. But if it comes from a man's point of view, hey, please, this is how at times most of the men behave. So that's what is happening in that community. And the women are just crying for the men to be part of the parenting journey.
So how many men were there? Denka, you obviously want to say something. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add from what he's saying and just explain the woman, how she was talking, how she was pressing that these men are not available, but if a problem happens, then the kids, the bad kid or the child who has gone a little bit astray is related to be like their mother, yet the father was not available.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch all that.
What did the
Ronnie,
bad
go
kid
ahead.
do to the mother?
Yeah, so whenever something goes wrong in the family, the child who is misbehaving is related to the mother. Now, by the father, he's never around, but when something goes wrong, he would tell these kids, you are like the mother. And at times, most of the times, I think for the case, we had an example where the lady said, if a girl gets pregnant in the house, both the girl and the woman are and the woman is they're chased out of the house by their father.
Yet the father was
Yet he was never available to give any counseling or leadership there. So, yeah.
So again, how many men were there at this this training time? Of the 33, how many men were there?
We end around, they were coming between an average of 10 to 13 there.
Okay. And this was held at a church, is that correct?
Yeah. Yes. Church, yeah.
And the pastor there is hopefully, asking you in. How did you know this pastor?
Yeah, I think the pastor attended our training, the first training that we did for pastors that side. So he attended the training. He got very much impacted. And we could also see him that he was different from other pastors, because when we left, he stayed in touch with us and we stayed also in touch with him. And that's how we got to go back there, because he was one of the pastors that, kept on, kept on being persistent and using what we taught them as pastors that time.
Okay. And so the parenting the marriage aspect of that, was that the first thing you addressed, David?
Yeah, we talked much about the marriage and how we relate, because we were giving an example of I and Mary, the way we relate in our marriage, the way we talk to each other, the way we resolve our disputes, the way if I have to go, I have to tell her where I'm going, such kind of simple things which looks very simple, but very important in any marriage. And then we came again now to the point of parenting.
And Ronnie, there was a big point where one man said we need to honor the women among us. Is that correct?
Yeah. So
not just a man, but an elderly man.
Yes. He was an elder man. So yes, I think before even that, one of the things that we laid grounds, knowing that the culture has its own mentality. So one of the things we were asking these people who attended was, are you a Maasai first, then a Christian, or a Christian who is a Maasai? So we put that early so that they can start really thinking through things. And coming to that point, that came through after they were taught about child development?
Child development.
Yeah, child development. So they really got to see how a child is developed. They got to learn the hassles and the adults that these women go through, putting in mind that nobody tells these women never share their pregnancy journey with their husbands. It's just a woman who suffers with everything, with all the pains and all the the traumatic journeys that they go through. So these men came. They go to see about child development, how a child develops, what hurdles the women go through. And after that session, actually, that's when they were like, today we never knew, but we have understood the hurdles that women go through. And it's like, for that reason, can we all men bow down in respect of these women? You would see the laughters and the giggling on the on the faces of these women, and they were clapping. They were like, yeah. At least now putting in mind that this doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Men never admit that they are wrong there, and the man never bows to a woman. So we were so happy to see a culture change there. Yeah.
Just to add a point on that, when I was teaching and I was showing the book how the child is in the womb, and then when it comes to the ninth month, and then the baby was facing down, one man said, please, you have put that picture there upside down, turn it the other way. And the women were, you see, you don't know. By this time, the baby has turned down. She is coming out. So you don't even know what happens with our pregnancies. And the men were, oh yeah, we didn't know this. And we need to bow to these women. And they literally bow like this to the women, which never happens at all in that community.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And in addition to that, there's when they've shown a kid when is angry in the stomach, and then it's trying to tell the men that when the mother is sad, or even the baby is sad, and they were like, oh, we are used in beating the women even when they are pregnant. And they really felt sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember there is a man who said that he saw a certain man beating the wife, and the wife ran. Then he chased the wife fell on the stomach, and the man continued to kick the wife, and they all came back home again. But he didn't know that that is hurting the baby, because at 3 months of the baby in the womb, she is able to have emotional connection with the mother and with the outside world. So when we train this, they were able to give even examples of how they have been mistreating their wives, and said, we don't need to do this ever again to our society.
That's great. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Good news.
Talk about parenting. I saw pictures of umbrellas in there. So Mary, why don't you address that? Or Debbie, you want to say something?
I would love to just share a little background, because this was the book Parenting for God's Glory, published here in Africa at one time. But what's so exciting is Danka has taken this book and translated it into Swahili, and then also contextualized it, Bob. She has put in examples that are relatable for those in Kenya and in Africa, and, and so I'm so happy about that, because this is written more from my American mindset. And so the principles, the scriptures, all of that can go across culture, but the examples and the way you present it, I'm so happy, Mary, you and Danka have taken it and, contextualized it to what will be heard and accepted, and change the generational parenting there. So thank you both for doing that.
So Danka, what was your highlight in the parenting seminar side of things?
In the parenting seminar, well, my highlight first would go to us as the team that was leading. It was amazing to see that we all related with the people there, because when everybody would stand up and it was their time to talk or to give an example, it was so conk, because I think I should say we are all children of dysfunctional families.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Which was just so easy to relate with the people, because when we are talking about violence, it's violence we have seen. When we are talking about lack of love in a family, it's something that we have experienced. And I think this made it easy for them even to be open to us, because they noticed that we are not coming from a point of perfect princess and prince family, but they knew that we are also Africans. We are also from different cultures, like let's say my husband and David and his wife, different cultures, but same problem facing with other people, and it needs to change, and it can start changing even inside. So that was really my very biggest highlight.
Amen.
That's beautiful. Mary, what about you?
Okay, for me, let me say, I was so happy the way we related with Ronnie's family and my family. We shared a lot even before we got to Maasai. And I thank God that He gave us the grace and to lead the Maasai people. And what I can say is those people were really touched, especially when they discovered that they don't use their own energy to do the parenting, but they need God. God must be always the first person. They should always consult God when doing anything in the family, and do it with love.
Yeah, I'm sure your examples as parents of young children were so good for them to hear, we live just a few hours away from you. We are, from the same country. And this is how we have learned to love our children in practical ways. So exciting.
Well, the examples were so real because I remember when we were teaching them and we were telling them that you need to honor and listen to your kids and your children. When they want to talk to you, give them time. So as I am continuing to teach, my son and my daughter comes in front. Now, if I was a typical African, I was supposed to slap them and kick them to go out. But I asked them, what do you need? They needed this. Then I told them, okay, go and pick it from my wife or the mother. It's in the car. And then I continued to teach. Now, for them, that looks like shameful. How does your kid come in front of you when you are teaching? And when we drove back to Nairobi, I met one of my friend, a close friend. I've ever went with him twice to the Maasai. And he told me, because we are sharing about parenting, I've made my girlfriend pregnant. My father is a bishop. I have booked 3 appointments with my father. I've not been able to see him for the last 4 months. And now my girlfriend is almost going to give birth and my dad doesn't know this. And when he asked me, I would tell him, Dad, I tried to come. You never gave me time. Because he went the first day, waiting for the father at the church. The father came and told him, I'm so tired. Let's talk later. Then they parted ways. The second time, the father was busy. The third time, the father was busy. 3 times going to your father, and he cannot give you audience. That pained me. So when we are talking about parenting, and when we are talking about marriage, it's something which is real, with real practicals of what is happening. And so many people are hurting.
Yeah. I mean, just maybe to come back and also add on that, I think the first illustration where our wives were teaching about the God structure with umbrellas. This was something so real, like, and very visual for these parents and for the people who attended the conference to see. We also learned a lot as we are getting to. Sorry about the noise in the background, but we also learned a lot when the umbrellas are put, hey, God first, then the man next, and then the woman, then the children. So you would see the feedback from that actual lesson. They're like, wow, we thought it's the husband first who took really the place of God, because he was doing everything in his own power. So they learned a lot from these, again, visual examples to them where,
Very
so
important.
that was outstanding.
And also, just to add, it was outstanding because they noticed that they have not been doing it wrong, but they have been doing it incomplete. It's only that they never put God first. They were usually, the man was putting himself first. The structure, how it followed, it was very okay. The man, the woman, the children. But now where they don't put God is where the problem would come in, because dictatorship would come in there, leading with anger and arrogance will come in there. But when you put God first, then all the others follow. So it was good that we didn't go there to totally turn things upside down, but it was like to put a competence in what we've been doing.
Nice. Beautiful.
Now, in the very beginning, you talked about multiplication, and how does that apply, this multiplication, in the area of marriage and parenting? Ronnie, I'll let you start first.
Well, I think the first scripture where we read about Jesus telling us to go make disciples, we said he didn't put an age bracket on that. So we always think it's you disciple church, it's only done in church, but we emphasize that children can multiply. Actually, they're the best when it comes to discipleship. So children can multiply, and this really has to begin at home, where you go to disciple your wife, treat them better, treat them in a way that glorifies God, and with that, when other people see that and when they get to talk about the goodness, I mean, how the marriage is functioning, that is already multiplication. But I think we also, again, before we did everything, even before we talked about multiplication, we did the 6 and 9 analogy that hit amazingly. And then that's when we came to the multiplication that really God expects us to make disciples, starting from our families, our kids, our wives, and that to them hit in a very different way. Yeah.
And also reading the book of Titus 2.
Oh yeah, Titus.
When I read the book of Titus 2 to them, you could just see from their face that, oh, God asks women to speak to other women. It was like a verse that they've never seen. So
Yeah,
that
Titus
one,
2.
repeating it through the day, whenever we would ask them, what have you learned? They would say, I've learned that I need to teach someone. God expects me to teach somebody else.
And I love it because I know your seminar was all based on the scripture, and these are Christian Maasai, right? They're in church.
Mhm.
But let me ask you a question, because I feel like I've seen this before, that even though they are believers, they're in church, but they seem to not really have teaching on Christian marriage and parenting much in church. Is that true?
Yeah, and not only teaching. Remember what Ronnie said. For them, they are Maasai, then Christian, not Christian, then Maasai. So they will do the first cultural things before thinking of the Christian things.
Okay.
And now, even in that Maasai culture, nobody teaches about how to raise kids in a Christian way. The only time they hear about children is when they are being told, bring your children for Sunday school. That's the end of parenting. So for them, this was totally new, and they have been just doing it in their cultural way. Although they go to church, they don't know anything on parenting for God's glory.
Mm-hmm. And discipling their children in the home. This is brand new for them. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, praise God that y'all taught them. That's wonderful.
So in the big picture of things, we have like Project 9/7, we have theological training, we have delivering dignity, but now we have parenting. Does this seem to be a whole new area, I guess, of unveiling glory that we need to address? David,
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
ask you.
Sure.
Okay. Yes, this is not. I won't say it's something that unveiling glory should start, but it's something that unveiling glory has started, because when we went to the Maasai and I was teaching about parenting, I found myself touching on the teaching which we do with Ronnie on teaching pastors. I find myself touching on FGM when we have to tell them that when you cut the girl, these are the implications when they are giving birth. And the call for the pastor from Tanzania, that man who said, let us bow for the women. And he said, you know what, next year, we have to go to Arusha. I'm thinking of my wife. I'm thinking of my church, which I started there, who need to hear this, because I cannot multiply myself. I want us to go there. We will host you. Just come and teach us in Tanzania. So it has not just started in Maasai. It has started to go internationally with invitation. And I can tell you, even when we were in Zambia and Zimbabwe, we are doing the teaching, and you hear them talking about issues of parenting, issues of marriage. So I think 100% sure that this is something that Unveiling Glory should think of continuing.
Ronnie?
Yeah, again, I think David has mentioned that we're teaching these pastors everywhere, but as you're in the middle teaching them theology, they say, stop, our families are hurting. Yeah, we come to church and put on a happy face, but go back at home and everything is crumbling down. How do we handle this? So most of the times, even as we are addressing theology, we have to stop and say, okay, you guys, we mentioned a little bit and say, but no, we didn't come to teach this. Okay, so there is really a need, because most of them ask, do you have anything else to help our marriages? Do you have anything else for our kids? So we're like, okay, that's another talk. But yes, there is really need. And these pastors, they have no idea how to do this, because most of the trainings that come for pastors, come for leadership. How do you grow a church? But few trainings touch about how do you thrive in your, marriage and your parenting, really. So yeah.
Did you
Ronnie,
go ahead,
sorry,
David?
Ronnie reminds me of what happened in Zimbabwe last time. We are just concluding the meeting, and the wife of our host comes to tell us, do you know what? After you finish the training, there is a pastor who was going to beat the wife. I don't know what the wife had done, but he told him, don't you remember what we learned on the training? I remember we are talking about pastoral, but we had mentioned a little bit on marriage. But now this meant the husband not to go and beat the wife. So it's something which was just practical. As we are teaching it, it's happening, and the need is seen as required.
So did the 6 and the 9, if you put a 6 between Debbie and me, she sees a 9, I see a 6. We use that as an example of, it all depends on your perspective. And you brought in, are you a Maasai first, a Christian second, or a Christian first, Maasai second? Do you think they really got that message that they need to put aside Maasai traditional ways and begin to live according to the scriptures? Do you think that message got across, Ronnie?
Yeah, I think it kept on actually coming back throughout the whole training, where the pastors were like, they would actually, bring some examples, but be like, oh, I'm a Christian pastor and a Maasai. So you see that it's already taking effect even within those 3 days that we were there. I think they got it, because everything we were doing, we're taking them back to the word as the root of everything that we're talking about. So yes, they understood.
And also pointing them, saying that they should do things for the glory of God.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They kept repeating that also all the way, even the last day, where we would pose a question, or somebody would pose a statement or a question, and they would say, they would say, you need to do it for the glory of God. As shameful as it is and all that, they kept pointing that we need to do it for the glory of God first.
Yeah.
Good. That is transformational for his glory.
So do you think, I mean, this is, you've only done your first meeting, but are you already beginning to think, hey, is there a couple here that we should really train who can then go out and start training in other Maasai villages? Do you think you found, or have you been thinking along those lines? We've made Timothys of theological Timothys, but are you finding couples that are going to be your Timothys who can then go out and start training other couples among the Maasai? David, I'll ask you that first.
Yes, we already got around 2 couples who are thinking these are doing well. One is the pastor, and then there was also another one who attended. And also this other pastor from Tanzania, he seemed to be very interested, because he himself, he said, next year I will organize a full meeting, then I will just call you to come and support the training and teach what we can't remember, because this one was very new to us. We were getting it for us. Now we want to start now going to teaching others. So yes, we are already on course with the Timothys, and I can assure you the next year, 2024, we'll be able to grow other Timothys in other places.
And Ronnie, was this all recorded?
Yeah, this was all recorded.
They already have it? Do they have it already on their cell phones?
No, again, it's going to need to be edited out and sent back to the pastor. Yeah.
And what about Danka's Swahili version? Can that be sent to them, or? Yeah.
Yes, it can just be sent.
All right. So I do have a question for Mary and Danka. This is your first time to teach the parenting material and to teach together. So how do you feel after it, Mary? Are you excited, like this is something I want to do again? Or are you like, no, I never want to do that again? Which way do you feel?
And be honest, because you're being recorded.
So Mary
what
first.
I can say is that the book itself really helped me, especially in dealing with anger, and bearing in mind that I've been these African parents that shout along when you do a mistake. It really helped me, especially in controlling my anger.
Yeah. Praise God for that, Mary. Are you excited to teach again?
Yeah, I'm so excited to
Mm.
teach and also learn more about people's culture and help them to come out of that and do everything for the glory of God.
So Denka, we're past our half-hour goal. I'm going to let you wrap this up by answering Debbie's question. Are you excited to teach again on parenting?
Yes, I am. And of course, I am when I do it with Mary. I think I got to learn a lot of gifts that she has and strengths that she has. And she completed my weaknesses of talking a lot.
Yeah. It's so good to go out 2 by 2. That's the way Jesus sent them.
Now we know
Yeah.
that if we have 5 minutes of talking, Mary should do that. If we have 1 hour of talking, I'm better to do.
Wonderful teamwork, ladies. So proud of both of you.
Well, great job, everybody. We're going to wrap this up. Thank you for what you're doing. May this be the beginning of a seed that will grow a large tree that will have many branches, that will drop its own seeds and bear many fruit, not only among the Maasai in Kenya, but in Tanzania, and then begin to go to other peoples, as well as additional nations as it grows out. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
God bless.